Today that we saw Elias Seppänen and teammate Tom Callender extend their lead at the top of the championship. They extended it to 146 points ahead of that car there, who came second in the endurance race yesterday. Jean-Luc D'Oria and Alan Valente. Alan Valente and Jean-Luc D'Oria had their first ever podium, finishing in second place in the endurance race. It was a win for Elias Seppänen and Tom Callender. Third yesterday went the way of Mike David Ortman and also Denis Bulatov, the two drivers for the Aston Martin Volkenhort Motorsport team, with BCMC coming home for the last place on the podium. It was an action-packed race, but it was that car there that came out on top, and Tom Callender and Elias Seppänen were able to extend their lead at the top of the championship, also because one of their main challengers, Samuel Vega and David Schumacher, recorded a non-finish. And just to make matters worse for their opponents, it was Tom Callender who put that car on pole position for, not on pole position, for the second row, for the inside second row for this race here this afternoon. P3 on the grid. It means that he's earned an extra point because points are paid in qualifying, and it means that Seppänen and Callender have extended their lead at the top of the championship to 25 points over Leon Köhler and Max Osten. So Mike David Ortman did the qualifying this morning in the number 34 BCMC and Volkenhorst Motorsport Aston Martin. He's lined it up third on the grid. Starting on the front row of the grid alongside pole sitter Jean-Luc D'Oria is Nico Handke, and he yesterday took the top step of the podium in the Pro-Am race along with his co-driver Chandler Hull, the driver from USA. They scored their first Pro-Am win of the season. So it's going to be an exciting race this afternoon. The grid is a little bit jumbled up. We had a red flag this morning in the closing stages of qualifying involving Eduardo Koziteng and the FK Performance BMW, the sister car to that one that we're looking at there. That is the car that has Leon Köhler at the wheel. But the red flag meant the cars had to come back into the pits, and there wasn't enough time to get heat back into the tyres and put in a hot lap at the end of the session with about 5 minutes remaining. It means we've got a grid that perhaps is not quite what we're expecting. It's set us up for what will be a fascinating race here at Spa-Francorchamps here this afternoon. It is race 8 of a 12 race season. So yesterday it was the win for Elias Seppänen and Tom Callender. It was a non-finish for Samuel Vega and David Schumacher. Mechanical issues. There was a vibration in the car. It meant that Samuel Vega was forced to retire the car, so no points for them. Finn Wiebelhaus and Janis Fitcher in the other of the HRT Mercedes also had issues, and there was some communication issues with that car there and the pits. It meant that Finn Wiebelhaus came into the pit lane earlier than he was meant to for his scheduled stop. He had to drive through and then come back in again the following lap, and so they went from what was potentially going to be a podium finish to eventually coming home in 10th place. So a difficult day for them. Many of the championship challengers falling by the wayside yesterday. Another was the Pro-Am Championship leaders, Alex Fack and Alexander Schwarzer in the Fack Autotech Porsche. They were leading in the Pro-Am race, but had some fuel issues on the very last lap of the race and were forced to retire the car, and that was a disaster for them, although their lead in the Pro-Am race is pretty unassailable at the moment, and it did help Chandler Hull and Nico Handke to take that top step of the podium in the Pro-Am race. It was an action-packed race yesterday. It was the 80-minute endurance with 2 mandatory stops, tyre changes, refueling. Quite the opposite here today. This is a shorter race than the many of the GT Masters fans will have come to expect. It is just 40 minutes. You can see confirmation of the points situation there, and Tom Callender and Elias Seppänen leading Leon Köhler and Max Osten, with Samuel Vega and David Schumacher a long way back in the point situation, but certainly not out of the running. Neither is the case for Finn Wiebelhaus and Janis Fitcher. Also, Tim Zimmerman and Benjamin Heidel righties all still very much in the hunt, but they are relying now on Elias Sepinen and Tom Callender having some bad luck. There has been a change to the BOP overnight, with many of the cars being allowed to unload some weight. So the Aston Martins have been able to unload 15 kilograms. The Audi and the BMW have all had 10 kilograms removed. 5 kilograms has come off the Lamborghinis and the Porsches. The Mercedes have had a whopping 15 kilograms added, and Ferrari an additional 10 kilograms. So changes to the BOP overnight. Also added to that, Elias Sepinen and Tom Callender will be carrying an extra 20 kilos of success ballast as well, on account of the fact they won the race yesterday. It means that they will have an additional 35 kilos of weight in the car for this race. Alain Valente and Jean-Luc D'Auria have an additional 10 kilograms on account of the fact they finished second yesterday, and Dennis Bulatov and Mike David Ortman will have an additional 5 kilograms on account of finishing in third place. The fascinating qualifying this morning saw Jean-Luc D'Auria scoring his first pole position, and Nico Hanska his best score as well, alongside Tom Callender, Mike David Ortman, both podium finishes yesterday on the next row. They're followed by Leon Köhler, great job from Gerhard Twereza for GRT Grata. Then Tim Zimmerman and Finn Wiebelhaus line up on row 4 of the grid. On row 5, Juliana Holzem and Johannes Kepfinger. I think it's the first time we've ever had identical twins lining up alongside each other on the grid in GT Masters. There's a fact for you. Quite a Mokoena, difficult weekend with Hugo Sasser alongside, and both of them are going to be making plans to move forwards from there, as is the case for Salmon Vega. Jamie Day from the UK, great to welcome him to the grid of GT Masters, and also great to welcome Pro Sport Racing back. Alexander Schwarzer, Jonas Greif line up on row 8 of the grid, and on row 9, Eduardo Cosatang after a difficult qualifying this morning, and Pablo Schum. So lots of new cars on the grid. We've been very, very chuffed to welcome Pro Sport Racing to GT Masters this weekend at Spa-Francorchamps. Christoph Effer's team return to GT Masters for the first time since 2021. Hugo Sasser is at the wheel of one of the cars, and he is sharing it with Raphael Renhofer. Both were superstars in the ADAC GT for Germany this year. Sasser was in GT Masters back in 2021. This is the debut for Raphael Renhofer in the GT3 category. And the other of the Pro Sport Racing cars that is run by Christoph Esser's team is Hendrik Still as another GT4 star there, and Jamie Day, the British driver who's registered in the UAE. Great to have Jamie on the grid here. The 19-year-old GT Masters making his GT3 debut, and we say welcome, Jamie. Great to have you here on the grid at Spa-Francorchamps. I hope we're going to see a bit more of you as this season goes on. Right, the formation lap is done. This circuit is a long old formation lap because the circuit is 7.004 kilometers, equates to about 4.352 miles, 19 turns, 10 to the left and 9 to the right. Of course, the track features Eau Rouge leading to Radion, the steep, fast right-hander with a gradient of nearly 25%. It is the combination of corner and straight that most drivers fear. It's one of the most famous sections of track in the world, and we are about to see the ADAC GT Masters race up that hill as we get ready for race 8 of the season. Conditions absolutely perfect. This is going to be a short, sharp sprint. 40 minutes plus 1 lap of racing ahead of us with 1 mandatory pit stop. We have 5 red lights on as we head up towards the grid and to the white line, and now 5 red lights off. We are go. Jean-Luc D'Auria stepping off that pole position into La Source, taking a nice wide line into the first corner, but spins into La Source. The rest of the cars going in all directions, but the pole sitter is left, pointing in the wrong direction into La Source on the first corner. The lead now going to the direction of Mike David Ortman. Up at Rouge we come. We're going to need to see a replay to see exactly what happened there. But Jean-Luc D'Auria, after such a spectacular qualifying, pointing in the wrong direction. We're riding on board with Alexander Schwarzer in the FAC Autotech Porsche, coming through from further back on the grid. Here come the cars along the Kemmel Straight. The incident between Jean-Luc D'Auria and Tom Callender under investigation. So the gold and white Mercedes that's currently running in second place in one of the cars that was involved with Jean-Luc D'Auria. So the rest of the cars are now sorting themselves out. But what drama on the opening corner of the race. Our pole sitter is sent spinning potentially after contact with the #1 car of Tom Callender. It means that our race leader is Mike David Ortman, the driver who is the outgoing champion ADAC GT Germany. In the background, there was a car that's just gone spinning into the barriers. I couldn't see quite who that was, and it's the other of the Aston Martin. So I think that is Nico Handke that has gone spinning into the barriers, is what it looks like. This may well bring out a safety car. Yes, it does. So we've lost 2 cars already, and we're only a minute and 15 seconds, a minute and 45 seconds into the race. So safety car is out. I think everybody needs to take a calm down pill. Mike David Ortman will be a bit gutted about that because he had already opened up a decent lead from Tom Callender in the car that is currently leading the championship. But as already mentioned, the stewards are taking a look. Right, let's have a look at this lap 1 incident. So Jean-Luc D'Auria on the left-hand side of your screen. Directly behind him was Tom Callender. D'Auria took a very wide line into turn 1. There was contact, so the stewards will be trying to decide whether he shut the door on the #1 car or not. Right, car 34 under investigation for a false start. That is our race leader. So Mike David Ortman under investigation. There is so much going on here. So Ortman under investigation for a false start. Now, it might be that he was perceived to have broken rank before the lights changed colour, going back to that turn 1 incident. So the stewards will want to decide whether Jean-Luc D'Auria left a gap and then slammed the door, or whether Callender had his nose in the gap a little bit prematurely. They will have an angle on it that we don't have. They will take a long look at that, and they will decide if there is any punishment that needs to be dished out. But Mike David Ortman leading the way, but under investigation for potentially a false start. The car that started 3rd on the grid is now 2nd. Championship leader Tom Callender. Leon Köhler made up a couple of places up into 3rd place, and Johannes Kapfinger up 6 places. Salman Ovega desperate to get his championship back on track up into P6. Ahead of him is Tim Zimmerman. This is looking very interesting indeed. The numbers next to the drivers' names denote the car number, but the colour denotes what category they are in. So if it's blue, it means they are in the Silver Championship, the overall championship. If it's green, it means they are a Pro-Am partnership. And it's Gerhard Twereza, who is in 9th place, who is the leading Pro-Am car. He's lost 3 places at the beginning, but his main competitor will be Alexander Schwarzer, who's in 11th place, Pablo Schum, who's in 14th place, and Nico Handke, who was leading Pro-Am qualifier, started 2nd on the grid, but now pointing in the wrong direction in the gravel trap. His afternoon looks to be over, and it looks as though Chandler Hull will not even get to sit in the seat of that car during this race. So it's going to take him a few moments to get that car moved. So everybody just calming down for a little bit. The stewards are looking at videos both of the incident, potentially involving Tom Callender and Jean-Luc D'Auria, and also looking at the start that was Mike David Ortman, potentially a false start for the number 34 car. We're on board with Tom Callender. It was a lively start to the race, wasn't it? So here at the Spa-Francorchamps circuit, always causes controversy. Right, let's have another look here. I'm looking at Mike David Ortman. Well, we've already crossed the line there. So we're looking at the incident that saw the pole sitter spinning out And it's very hard to say from the angle we're at how much of a gap there was on the inside, but the stewards may well decide to issue a penalty for that incident. Mike David Ortman had already made his move. We were well over the start line there, so it would have been further back that he would have potentially broken rank too early. So the stewards will be looking at videos of that as well. So behind the safety car, it's Mike David Ortman who leads the way in the number 34 BCMC and Vulcan Horse Motorsport Aston Martin Vantage GT3. In second place, it's Tom Callender in the Mercedes, and then Leon Köhler in third in the BMW. A Porsche in fourth with Johannes Kapfinger at the wheel, with Tim Zimmermann. Keep an eye on him in the number 63 Lamborghini Huracan that is run by GRT Grasser. Always fairly lively. Salman Vega trying to get his championship back on track in sixth place, so he's made good progress. Juliana Holzem in seventh in the Audi. Then in eighth place, Finn Wiebelhaus in car number 3 in the Mercedes. Then Gerhard Torreser, our leading Pro-Am driver, ahead of Kwando Mokoena, the South African driver who shares driving duties with Max Rice, and they really could do with some good luck this weekend. They've had a lot of bad luck. Right, let's have a look at this start here. Keep an eye on Mike David Ortman in the black and gold car. You can see he's broken rank fairly rapidly. Now the lights are green there. The question is, do the stewards feel that he broke rank too quickly before the lights had changed green, or was he just very quick out of the blocks? Well, we're going to find out before too long, because if they do feel as though he made a jump a little bit too early, they will send him to the penalty box. But they may decide he was just very quick. An investigation doesn't mean a punishment has been dished out. So at the moment, Mike David Ortman is leading the race along with Denis Bulatov. They were absolutely wringing the neck of that Aston Martin yesterday. They were using all of the track, quite a bit of the grass and the runoff area as well, just to try and extract what they could out of the car. They got a third place for their efforts. That would go with the third place they had at Zandvoort earlier on this year. They would dearly love to take the top step of the podium. Mike David Ortman, he, along with Hugo Sasser, are the outgoing champions in ADAC GT for Germany. We are on the road to DTM, and the winner of the ADAC GT for Germany category gets funding to come into GT Masters next year. The winner of the Road to DTM category here in the GT Masters gets funding for DTM next year, and there's an awful lot to play for here. At the moment, at the top of the Road to DTM Championship, it's Elias Seppänen with 171 points, with Tom Callender second with 153. Max Osten is third with 145 points. So the Road to DTM Championship is a different point structure to the overall championship, that too being led by Seppänen and Callender ahead of Köhler and Max Osten. But it's the Road to DTM that championship which attracts the funding to put the driver potentially into a DTM seat for next year. We also have the Silver Cup. Well, there's no surprise there. That's been led by Elias Seppänen and Tom Callender ahead of Leon Köhler and Max Osten by 25 points. And the Pro-Am Cup, which has been led, dominated by Alex Fack and Alexander Schwarzer. Right, you can see that the safety car is due in on this lap. So we've had no notification of any penalties. 2 drivers potentially under investigation, and they are the 2 cars that are running at the front of the field. Mike David Ortman, who is the race leader, under investigation for a potential false start. Second place, Tom Callender, under investigation for the incident that saw our pole sitter go spinning on turn 1. So it could all change. I should think Leon Köhler is in third place, just rubbing his hands together at the moment. Safety car lights are out, so very, very shortly the safety car will disappear off into the distance. Mike David Ortman will back the field up, and he will want to get the jump on Tom Callender. Tom, at 16 years old, the youngest driver in the field, has shown such maturity. With his friend and mentor, Elias Seppänen, has proven to be, well, a great combination, those 2 drivers. And with that, they have won 3 races this season, 3 out of the 7 races we've had so far, which is a pretty good return rate, and explains why they are leading all of their respective championships. Right, here we go then. Mike David Ortman, it is his decision when to hit the accelerator. Nobody can overtake until they reach the start-finish line, but he'll want to have as big a gap as possible as they're heading to the bus stop. He stops his weaving, he hits the accelerator, the lights are green. It's Mike David Ortman who leads the pack out of the bus stop across the grid for the restart of this race. Less than half an hour remaining. To remind you, there is a mandatory pit stop that will come, and it's Mike David Ortman who goes into last source. Tom Callender just behind, then it's Leon Curler. The pit window is due to open 15 minutes into the race and remain open for 10 minutes. That may well be subject to change because of the safety car, but we'll let you know when the pit window will open. But in the meantime, Mike David Ortman currently in charge of this race. He heads up towards the Kemmel Straight, now absolutely flat out as they head towards Le Com, reaching something like 265 kilometers an hour in 6th gear. Tom Callender coming under pressure from Leon Curler in the BMW. Callender, to remind you, carrying an awful lot of weight compared to yesterday. He's got 20 kilos of success ballast as well as 15 kilos in the BOP change. So an additional 35 kilos to what he had yesterday. And just to make life even more interesting, the BMW is carrying 10 kilograms less than what it was yesterday. So suddenly Leon Curler has a little bit more pace than he might have enjoyed at this point yesterday, and he is challenging for that second place. But keep an eye on Johannes Kapfinger in 4th place for Team U Sportwagen Technik in the Porsche, just there as well. The first car has broken clear of 2nd, 3rd, 4th, a little bit of a gap back to 5th, 6th and 7th, but this could all change. Coming from the back of the pack, Eduardo Cosatang, after a difficult time this morning in qualifying, trying to push his way forwards. You can see how much of the track the drivers are using. Quando Mocoena going a little bit wide into the gravel, doesn't lose any positions, but pushing as hard as he dare. And that Mercedes and our race leader has got a trip to the penalty box. Disaster for Mike David Ortman. He will have to slow down to no more than 50 kilometers an hour and pass through a 50-meter penalty box that is on the exit of turn 7. This is going to hand the lead to Tom Callender. That car visited the penalty box yesterday and did it in a very subtle way. Dennis Bulletov was at the wheel of it at that point, didn't even lose any positions, but he's going to have no such luxury here. Our race leader is going to have something like 5 seconds added to his lap time because he is going to have to visit the penalty box for that false start. So the message will have gone through to Mike David Ortman. He'll want as much of a gap as possible because he's going to have to serve it this time around on board with 2nd place Tom Callender, who knows that he may well inherit the lead of this race, but he too is under investigation, as is also Salman Ovega for overtaking in a runoff area. So a number of cars under investigation, but at the moment the race leader is going to have to visit the penalty box. Car 2 and 29, well, that was the investigation, so Holzem and Ovega are going to have to change positions. So the stewards have had a look at that and decided there had been an incorrect overtake. Right, there's Ortman through the penalty box. Look at how many positions he has lost. An absolute disaster for our race leader. That false start will have cost him so many places. He rejoins behind Finn Wiebelhaus. He's down into 9th place, 8th place for Mike David Ortman. So the race leader peels off into the penalty box. Now Tom Callender will be waiting to see whether there's any penalty incoming for the turn 1 collision. If there isn't, we could be in for another win for car number 1 because they have looked so strong. But keep an eye on Leon Curler in the number 54 BMW, who is looking very dialed in 2nd place. Our race leader, the driver that was our race leader on the previous lap, is now all the way down in 8th place. Mike David Ortman tumbling down the order as a result of that visit to the penalty box. He's got Quando Mocoena behind him, and then Gerhard Twereza in 10th place, who is leading in the Pro-Am category. That is an absolute disaster for Mike David Ortmann. Right, here comes our race leader, our new leader, Tom Callender, but Leon Köhler in that BMW, looking very racy indeed. The car that is significantly lighter than it was yesterday, chasing the car that is very significantly heavier than it was yesterday. You can see the pit window is due to open in 5 seconds, so it didn't get delayed. Meanwhile, Tim Zimmermann fancies a little look at a podium position. He darts to the outside of Kapfinger, to the inside, then through last source. That was a confirmation of Mike David Ortmann's penalty lap, just jumping up on your screen there. I don't think that's another one that he's been awarded, so he's taken that already. But look at this for the lead. So we've had a change for 3rd place. Now 1st and 2nd are going at it head to head. Tom Callender with Leon Köhler just behind him. Leon Köhler has a sniff of the top step of the podium. He knows this is his best opportunity to potentially get his 3rd win of the season. At the moment, just waiting for his moment. It might be the team decide to bring the FK Performance BMW in for the mandatory stop to try and do an undercut on the lead car. We will see what happens, because within the next 9 minutes, every car will need to come into the pits for a mandatory stop and a driver change. But the Pro-Am cars, that is the cars that are marked in green on your graphic, have a pit stop that is 10 seconds less than the cars that are the silver cars, which are the ones that are marked in blue on your screen. You can see that Pablo Schum and Jonas Greif have come into the pits, but the Pro-Am cars get that advantage where they need to be in the pits for 10 seconds less than their competitors. So the silver drivers, the silver pairings, have a minimum pit stop time of 80 seconds from pit entry to pit exit. The Pro-Am drivers have a minimum pit stop time of 70 seconds from pit entry to pit exit. We've got 2 cars that have had their stop already. Jonas Karklees now at the wheel of the number 8 car, and the number 33 car is being handed over to Simon Connor Prim, and Mike David Ortmann just getting a little bit leery in the BMW, in the Aston Martin in the background. You can see the dust rising up into the air. At the front of that queue, it's Tim Zimmermann, who is in that 3rd place. He's got past Johannes Kapfinger. There is Juliana Holzem in the Audi just behind. Then Salman Vega, Mike David Ortmann trying to come back, the early race leader after that penalty. So look and see if anybody else pits. So there are cars peeling off into the pit lane now. They're all coming in together, aren't they? Callender stays out, Köhler stays out. Zimmermann looks to have stayed out as well, but a number of the cars further back coming into the pits. The teams will want to get them in and out, maybe onto some clear track, an opportunity to potentially do an undercut and get past some of their competitors. Right, there's Mike David Ortmann. Here's Denis Bulatov, gets ready, opens the door, tugs Mike David Ortmann out of the car. His work is done for the afternoon. I should think he will be pretty fed up about that. He'd done all the hard work in qualifying. He got himself into the lead as a result of avoiding the action on turn 1. And then just that silly little mistake at the start. Also into the pits is the number 4 car. So that's Alexander Schwarzer, who will be handing over to the very rapid Alex Fack, the driver who is a winner in Porsche Mobile 1 Super Cup. He was last year. There is Michael Kapfinger taking over from Johannes Kapfinger in the number 91 Team U Sport Wagen Technique Porsche. So 2 of the Porsches into the pits at the moment. They're waiting for the clock to tick down. Of course, tire changes, refueling not allowed. Fack gets moving. Remember, he was stationary for 10 seconds less than Kapfinger as a result of being a Pro-Am driver partnership. So out of the pit box comes David Schumacher. He's taken over from Salman Ovega. Bulatov is out onto the pit lane as well. Finn Wiebelhaus is handed over to Yanis Fitcher in the number 3 car. And that is Holzem just going very wide. There is Kwanda Mokoeno, who backs off for nobody. The South African looking very quick. Right, this is our race leader, Tom Callender, getting a bit wide out onto the gravel. Keeps it pointing in the right direction, but Leon Köhler will have seen quite how hard Tom Callender is pushing. Would love to push him into a mistake. I have seen no notifications of any penalties incoming for Tom Callender as a result of that turn 1 incident. So all is good there. Right into the pits comes Leon Curler. So Curler, who's going to be handing over to Max Osten. It frees Tom Callender to just have a little bit of space behind him. So moving up into second place now is Tim Zimmerman. So Curler into the pits. This is going to be really critical because Callender will want to put in as faster laps as he possibly can. But Curler, who's handing over to Max Osten, you know that Osten will be like the proverbial rat up the drain pipe when he comes out, because this will be his opportunity to potentially do an undercut on the leading car. Right, Kwanda Mokoena into the pits. His work is done for the weekend. Here comes Max Rice for Haupt Racing. So Max Rice, the German junior driver who has been so impressive in all that he has done, has had a rubbish weekend this weekend though. Had an accident in free practice on Saturday that put him on the back foot, but really wants to show his potential here in race 2 of the weekend at Spa-Francorchamps. The number 2 is the other of the HRT cars, so the Haupt Racing cars, and that has David Schumacher at the wheel. So car number 2 out on track at the moment, having done the mandatory stop and driver change. We've still got 6 cars that are yet to come into the pits. You can see that the leading stopper at the moment, Leon Curler, handing over to Max Osten. Right, the clock has struck 0. They've timed that well. They've got to the pit exit. They've only lost half a second in the pit stop sequence. Juliana Holzum's handing over to Sandra Holzum. They've lost 2.3, so that is going to hurt. But better that than to go below the minimum pit stop time, because the penalties that are incoming for going below the minimum pit stop time are normally very substantial indeed. Right, on board with Dennis Bulatov, trying to fight his way back past David Schumacher into the bus stop chicane. They come out along towards the grid, flat out towards a last source. Our race leader is still Tom Callender. He's still got 3.5 minutes to come into the pits. Zimmerman to Eraser, Sasa, Hugo Sasa, Eduardo Cossadeng and Jean-Luc D'Auria. Our pole sitter in 6th place, but a long way back. Right into the pits comes Tom Callender. So Elias Seppänen will be standing by, ready to take over the seat of the number 1 car. This is critical for Max Osten. He will be out on track, giving it everything he's got to try and close the gap in, and he will want that BMW to be in front of that Mercedes when the pit window closes. Into the pit box comes Tom Callender. Elias Seppänen poised and ready for action. Seppänen, the defending champion in ADAC GT Masters, jumps into the car. Right, there is Max Osten out on track at the moment, trying to get round as quick as he can. He'll want to be as far forward as possible so that when Elias Seppänen comes out of the pits, but he is trying so hard. Max Osten, the driver who is also racing in GT World Challenge Asia this year. He spent a lot of time in Japan. You can see the damage on the front left-hand corner of that Mercedes. That's as a result of the turn 1 collision, and it looks like the front wing potentially could be rubbing against the wheel. You can hear the engine firing up in the background, the roar of that Mercedes-AMG GT3 Evo. Jean-Luc D'Auria also coming out of the pits. Not Jean-Luc D'Auria now, but Adam Valente, who's taken over from him. Right, there's Seppänen in the background. There's Jean-Luc D'Auria walking back to the pit box, thinking about what might have been. So Seppänen is about a second late to the pit exit line. This may well prove significant. So here is Max Osten, currently in Blanchimont, heading out towards the bus stop. The pit lane here at Spa-Francorchamps is very long, and the drivers need to keep to the pit lane speed limit of 50 kilometers an hour through the bus stop. This is going to be close at the moment. In the background, Max Osten will be heading in towards last source. Here he comes. We're looking down from last source, turn 1. Here comes Max Osten. This is going to be critical for the race lead. Has he done enough to jump the number 1 car? Out of turn 1 he comes, out along the straight, heading towards Eau Rouge. Now Seppänen is able to hit the accelerator, get up to speed. Where is the BMW? There it is, on the right-hand side of the screen. Car number 5 with a penalty for speeding in the pit lane, but this is for the lead of the race. Osten will have the momentum, but Elias Seppänen Seppänen is into what will be the lead of the race. We've got a couple of cars that have been flagged. We've got a speed limit infringement for car number 5. Just keeping an eye on this battle as well, which will be for the lead of the race. Is Elias Seppänen at the moment, but Max Osten, man on a mission, is going to be challenging for what will be the lead of the race. We said car number 5 with a pit speed lane, don't say that one too often, with an infringement potentially. That's Max Rice and Quanda Mokoena. Well, Max Rice at the wheel now and under investigation for potentially breaking the speed limit. Also, Raphael Renhofer, the red P means he may well have gone below the minimum pit stop time. So if that is the case, there may be a penalty incoming for the number 27 Pro Sport Aston Martin. But look at this. This is going to be for the lead of the race. Gerhard Tweresa, who had taken over the lead of the race, into the pits. Having said that, to remind you, he is stationary for 10 seconds shorter than the cars around him. So he may well come out somewhere in the midst of this battle. So Gerhard Tweresa, we're watching the clock ticking down. Eduardo Cosseteng has handed over to the Gregory de Cyborg in the number 10 car. Tweresa handing over to Taylor Hagler, the driver from the USA, who will be taking over the wheel of the number 19 GT Grasser Racing Lamborghini. We'll see where they are when Seppänen and Osten come around the final corner. There is Seppänen currently in control of this. Max Osten in the BMW. Behind them, Benjamin Heites, who's taken over from Tim Zimmerman, just making a route past Jonas Karklees in the number 8 car. He's taken over driving duties from Pablo Schum. You can see Alex Fack lined up behind them as well. Right, looking down from, and De Cyborg as well has got a red P next to his name, so potentially De Cyborg may have gone below the minimum pit stop time. Also under investigation, car 63 for speeding in the pit lane. The stewards are working overtime. At the moment, it is Taylor Hagler who has held on to the lead, but I think it's only going to be a short period of time before De Cyborg and Seppänen are onto them. So Hagler had that shorter pit stop. There she is. Now Seppänen is past. There is Leon Köhler. De Cyborg is further back. Right, car 63 is also going to have to visit the penalty box. That's Benjamin Heites, the number 63 GT Grasser Racing Lamborghini. So we're going to have a list of drivers that haven't had a penalty is going to be fairly short at the end of this, because another penalty also incoming, this time for car 27. That's Raphael Renhofer, and that is for a pit stop infringement as well. So many drivers who are under investigation by our race stewards. So there is Benjamin Heites. He's going to have to visit the penalty box. It is a box painted on the track on the exit of turn 7, Malmedy, just before Rivage, and he'll have to pass through that 50-meter box at no more than 50 kilometers an hour. It is the equivalent to adding about 5 seconds onto the lap time. There is confirmation also. Gregory de Cyborg also going to have to pass through the penalty box. So the penalties have been coming thick and fast. The significant one that hasn't come, though, Elias Seppänen and Tom Callender, after that race, the Turn 1 investigation, there has been no further news on that. So as things stand at the moment, car number 1, championship leader, yesterday's race winner, leading the way from Max Osten in car 54. So Max Osten in the BMW doing what he can to catch the Mercedes. We're riding on board with Alex Fack in 6th place in the Pro-Am race. He's 3rd in the Pro-Ams at the moment. He's homing in on Jonas Karklees, the number 8 car, the Liquimoli Team Exler Audi that is run by Luca and Franz Engster, father and son. Of course, Luca Engster, the star in DTM, who runs that car. He's in the Pro-Am race. Alex Fack will be very eager to get past him. Mikael Kapfinger also working his way back through. Sandra Holzem challenging for position, though. So Sandra Holzem, Mikael Kapfinger, this is for 7th place. The 2 cars touch on the exit of La Source. You saw the puff of smoke. Now they run flat out. Eau Rouge, and there's contact. The 2 of them go spinning on Eau Rouge. Kapfinger somehow keeps it out of the barriers. Cars scattering left and right. Somehow, nobody collected Mikael Kapfinger. The yellow flags will be waving. Also, Sandro Holzer managing to keep it out of the barriers. How did they get away with that? The fastest section of the track, the blind crest, there was the little contact out of last source, and then Holzer making contact with the rear quarter of the Kapfinger Porsche. Both cars went spinning. Somehow, both cars stayed out of the barriers, and some serious avoiding action taking place behind for Kapfinger. So that is under investigation. The stewards will certainly want to have a look at that, but a major disaster averted there. The changes that have been made to the track, particularly at Eau Rouge and Raidillon, well, I should think that both Sandra Holzer and also Mikael Kapfinger will be very thankful for those changes that have been made. Right, fourth place Taylor Hagler now has Alex Fack for company, because Fack has found a route past Jonas Karklees. These three cars that are running together are all in the Pro-Am race. So Fack now making his challenge on Taylor Hagler. Doesn't look as though she has anything for the Porsche at the moment. So Alex Fack working his way through. I'm expecting to see the number 4 car. No, at the moment, still Hagler holding on. So good job from Taylor Hagler. But now suddenly, Pablo Schum, Jonas Karklees is under pressure from Benjamin Heites. So Heites not in the same race. So I would expect that Jonas Karklees will want to allow that Lamborghini to just get past and not get involved with it. Having said that, he'll want to get past the 2 cars in front of him. So you've got the Pro-Am race with the silver race into the bus stop. 9¼ minutes remaining of this. The second race of the weekend, the sprint race. Alex Fack alongside Taylor Hagler out towards turn 1. Last source they come. Alex Fack taking the wider line. He's going to try and sweep around, but still Hagler holding on to that position. Fack switches back to the inside and out of last source. Finally steals away third place, so that's a podium position, but also the lead of the Pro-Am race. Hagler down to second in the Pro-Ams. Jonas Karklees has done a great job fending off Benjamin Heites in the number 63 car. So the 1, 2, 3 in the Pro-Am race running together, and 3, 4, 5 on the track. What a gaggle of cars. Here's Denis Bulatov trying to come back. He's in 7th. He's going to make that 6th if he can possibly make that happen. But they're heading in towards Le Com, the quick right and the left. He hasn't been able to do anything about it yet, but he's still fighting for that position. But keep an eye on David Schumacher behind in 8th place, wants to get his championship back on track. Benjamin Heites in the number 63 Lamborghini, the orange and blue car, making his car as wide as he can. He wants to try and get past Jonas Karklees ahead of him, but he has got everybody trying to pass him just behind. We're riding on board with Denis Bulatov. You can see them in the action. Everybody fighting for every last position. Now Benjamin Heites around the outside of Taylor Hagler, so that is for 4th place. Hagler will now have the challenges from behind of Denis Bulatov, but this is great news for Benjamin Heites. It allows him just to break clear a little while the rest of the cars behind are fighting for that 5th place. So many changes for position. Great entertaining racing in the ADAC GT Masters. Race 8 of a 12-race season. We're getting to the sharp end of the championship. Denis Bulatov really wants to score some points here, so you can see he means absolute business as he lines up Taylor Hagler for that 6th place. There's Benjamin Heites, has broken clear of Hagler now. Up ahead of him is Jonas Karklees, and he will be aware that the orange and blue Lamborghini is incoming. Right, car 29, Sandra Holzer, a penalty lap 3 times for causing a collision. That moment we saw on Eau Rouge, 3 visits to the penalty box. Look at this fight as they come out of the bus stop towards La Source. It's come out in favour of Denis Bulatov. You can tell he's a bit fed up after the earlier issues in the race, and he is through and past Taylor Hagler. Hagler now has David Schumacher breathing down her exhaust pipe, but keep an eye on Janis Fischer in the grey Mercedes there as well. Also Max Rice. It is 3 Mercedes fighting each other for position at the front of that queue at the moment. In 8th place, David Schumacher, Janis Fischer and Max Rice. Keep an eye on the blue Max Rice car just in the background, because he could well be challenging for position here. He's lining up David Schumacher just ahead of him, and also Janis Fischer. They're running out towards Le Com. Still at the front of that queue, Taylor Hagler at the moment, but you wonder how long she can hold on to that for, because David Schumacher putting as much pressure as he dare onto the Lamborghini in front of him. Taylor Hagler in the gold and black car, the number 19 GRT Grasser Racing Lamborghini. What a fight this is. 7th, 8th, 9th and 10th, all running nose to tail. So Hagler still holding on to that position, doing a sterling job, but how much longer can she do it? David Schumacher flashing the lights. Janis Fincher trying to take his opportunity. Max Rice taking a different line into the corner. He knows that if any of the cars in front of him make a challenge for position, it could create an opportunity for him to get past. He's putting the pressure onto Janis Fincher, but just to remind you, those cars are running in the same team as each other. They are the 3 HRT Mercedes cars, so very important that they don't collide with each other. And they'll be working together to try and dispatch the number 19 car, but time is running out. 5 minutes remaining of this race. So less than 5 minutes plus a 1 lap here at Spa-Francorchamps. Taylor Hagler doing everything to hold on to that 7th place. Meanwhile, Denis Bulatov has broken well clear of this battle. He sets off after Benjamin Heites in 5th place. Our race leader is still Elias Seppänen. He is leading the way from Max Osten. 2.3 seconds is the gap between 1st and 2nd. Alex Fack in a solid 3rd place. Now, finally, David Schumacher sees a gap on the bus stop. He sails through. Janis Fincher fancies some of that as well. Alongside Taylor Hagler out of the bus stop. Also following through, Max Rice trying to move up into that 9th place. Max Rice relegating Taylor Hagler. So Hagler losing 3 positions in the one corner. So Hagler now without the pressure is able to concentrate on what's ahead. Here is the race leader, Elias Seppänen, despite the weight that that car is carrying, leading the way from Max Osten in car 54. Alex Fack in 3rd place. Jonas Karklees doing a great job. We haven't given much of a mention to him, but Karklees holding on to 4th place in the Pro-Am race in the Liqui Moly Team Exler Audi. Jonas Karklees, who we've seen coming through the ranks of TCR Germany, and now into the big lead of the ADAC GT Masters. And if he could bring that home in 4th place, that would be a heck of a result for the Pro-Am partnership of Jonas Karklees and Pablo Schum. So the HRT cars continue to fight. It's David Schumacher, Janis Fincher and Max Rice all running in single file. 3 very, very rapid cars. David Schumacher, who we've seen in DTM in the past. Janis Fincher, who's also sharing driving duties in the GTC racing this weekend. Max Rice, who if it wasn't for bad luck, probably wouldn't have any luck at all with the very vocal fan club. Also the MR28 app. If you want to find out more about car number 5, free to download the MR28 app, where Max posts regular updates, stats and information about his racing. Well worth checking out. Currently in 9th place. He's looking for better than that though, but he can see Janis Fincher in an identical car just ahead of him, and another identical car in the shape of David Schumacher in 7th place. They've broken clear of Taylor Hagler now in 10th place, but with less than 2.5 minutes remaining, it's starting to look as though the positions are getting cemented in place. Elias Seppänen looking to do that very rare thing of a back-to-back win. At least it was rare before he came on the scene, but now Elias Seppänen making a habit of back-to-back wins, it looks like. So in the lead of this race at the moment, seems to have a handle on Max Osten. So he's broken clear of him still, about 2.2 seconds up the mighty Eau Rouge and Radion. You can see the vibrations. The drivers feeling about 3G of lateral force as they go through Eau Rouge and up to Radion, and then it's absolutely flat out along the Kemmel Straight into 6th gear, the fastest part of the track, about 265 kilometers an hour before braking for Les Combes. The corner sequence of Les Combes and Malmedy that requires commitment and precision, taken in 2nd gear. There is the 3rd place car of Alex Fack and Jonas Karklees. This is more than just battle for honour. This is a battle for the win in the Pro-Am race. Alex Fack and Alexander Schwarzer have won every Pro-Am race bar one this season, and would dearly love to keep that record going. Jonas Karklees looking for his first win along with Pablo Schum in the Pro-Am category. Certainly in his strongest position so far. The best finish they've had so far this season has been a 12th place, and that was at the season opener in Oschersleben, so a 4th place would be a dramatic step up from that. But at the moment, getting one past Alex Fack is going to be something of a challenge, particularly as we are into the last 38, 37, 36 seconds of this race. So when the clock strikes 0, the race leader, Elias Seppänen, will finish that lap, and then there will be one more lap after that before the checkered flag falls. To remind you, this is a short, sharp sprint, a 40-minute race. We had the 80-minute race yesterday, and then after this weekend, we're back to normal GT Masters business. It will be 4 60-minute races to finish the season. So fighting further back, Sandra Holzem, having taken residence in the penalty box after that incident with Mikael Kapfinger up at Eau Rouge. I think everybody will need a change of trousers after that one, but now trying to fight his way back. He's in 14th place. Kapfinger has been registered down in 16th place, and looks to be potentially, I think, is not running at the moment. So certainly were no winners out of that battle between Holzem and Kapfinger. Right, Alex Fack out towards Eau Rouge. Elias Seppänen is just ahead of them. I think Seppänen didn't get to the line before the clock struck 0. I have no notification of where he is. He's up there at the moment. So if the clock was still running when he crossed the line, it will be one more lap after that. So no notification that it is a last lap. So it could be about a lap and 3/4 still to run of this race. Max Osten doesn't look as though he's got any reply for Elias Seppänen, despite the amount of weight that Mercedes is carrying. Then there is this fight for the win in the Pro-Am race. It's Alex Fack and Jonas Karklees in 3rd and 4th overall, but also 1st and 2nd in the Pro-Am race. And then it's Benjamin Heites who shares the driving duty with Tim Zimmermann, just getting on with the job. The car that led the way, oh, that's not going to keep the podium position if you go wide there, picking up the dirt. Jonas Karklees, you can see how hard he is pressuring. In 6th place, Denis Bulatov, who took over from Mike David Ortman, the car that was leading the way until the visit to the penalty box. A disastrous moment when Mike David Ortman got the jump a little bit too early when the lights went out. 6th place looks about as far as he's going to be able to go with the clock struck at 0. There is 3rd, 4th, 5th. 6th place is Denis Bulatov in the background, and they're well clear of David Schumacher, Janis Fischer, and Max Rice, who are in the 7th, 8th, and 9th places. Seppänen still leading the way, and that is still 3rd place at the moment. But to remind you, it is for the lead in the Pro-Am race. The car's running along Blanchimont in 6th gear at about 255 kilometers an hour, up to about 260. Right, onto the final lap we come. Elias Seppänen, just 7 kilometers between here and a historic back-to-back win in ADAC GT Masters. He has proven to be so quick. Elias Seppänen looking to become the first driver ever to successfully defend a GT Masters title in the 18-year history of this legendary series, the longest-running GT3 championship in the world. Nobody has ever successfully defended their title in the League of Super Sports Cars. And Elias Seppänen, if things remain as they are for the remainder of this lap, will extend his lead even further over Leon Köhler and Max Osten. Max Osten and Leon Köhler, if they finish in 2nd place, it keeps them well in the championship hunt, but with 4 races remaining after this, they're starting to rely on bad luck hitting Seppänen and Callender if they want to take this championship all the way to the last race of the season. Pro-Am leader Alex Fack looks to have that covered off, because now Jonas Karklees has Benjamin Heites for company. So he's going to have to make the decision whether he keeps up the fight for the remainder of this lap, or whether he allows Heites to go past because he's more interested in the Pro-Am points. You get the feeling that Jonas Karklees is not really thinking about the Pro-Am race. He just wants to come home in 4th place. It will be a phenomenal finish if he can bring it home the remainder of this lap here at Spa-Francorchamps in race 8 of the season. Elias Seppänen, our race leader. Max Osten has kept him in sight. Tried to do everything he could when he took over from Leon Köhler after the pit stop, but was unable to do the undercut. So came back out in 2nd place, but it will be a very valuable points haul. But if things remain as they are for the next few corners, Elias Seppänen and Tom Callender will extend their lead at the top of the championship. Alain Blanchimont for the very last time. Elias Seppänen now into the bus stop. He will come in just a few moments. It is the right and then the left, and he will see ahead of him the checkered flag, because it's going to be a win for Elias Seppänen and Tom Callender. Back-to-back wins at Spa-Francorchamps, extending their championship lead. Solid points haul for Leon Köhler and Max Osten. Alex Fack and Alexander Schwarzer, the last of the podium positions, and the win in the Pro-Am race. And a solid job for Liquimoli Team Exler. Across the line comes Jonas Karklees and Pablo Schum, and pulling to the side once again. That looks like, is he pulling to the side? I'm sure if Alex Fack might have had a problem after the line. Maybe he's just picking up some marbles. I thought for a moment the car was coming to a stop and there would have been flashbacks of yesterday, but no, it doesn't look like there was a problem there. So solid job. Alex Fack, though, no doubts about it. 3rd across the line, so he gets a podium position and also top step of the podium for the Pro-Am race. So 2nd of the Pro-Ams, Jonas Karklees and Pablo Schum, and 3rd in the Pro-Ams. 12th overall, a solid job. Taylor Hagler and Gerhard Twaracer, so they get the 3rd of the podium positions. But who can stop the Landgraf Motorsport Mercedes with Elias Seppänen and Tom Callender at the wheel? Yet another win. And it is their 4th win of the season. It means that they have now won 50% of all the races this year in the ADAC GT Masters. A very, very solid job indeed. A fairly dominant weekend for them, doing everything right, despite the BOP changes overnight, which brought 15 kilos extra onto the Mercedes, plus an extra 20 kilos of success ballast after yesterday's win. So they were carrying 35 kilos more. That's half a person, effectively, more of weight in that car. And still, they were able to bring it home to take a back-to-back win, a historic back-to-back win. To round off what has been a very entertaining endurance weekend here at Spa-Francorchamps, there is the classified results, of course, subject to confirmation. And I would just say, without wishing to rain on anybody's parade, there is still an investigation undergoing after that Term 1 incident. So it is all very much subject to confirmation. Keep an eye on the socials and on the ADAC website for any updates. But as things stand at the moment, Elias Seppänen and Tom Callender extend their lead over Leon Köhler and Max Osten in the championship of the ADAC GT Masters. By my calculations, that gives them a lead of about 30 points. So that is something very significant to have under your belt with just 4 races remaining. 25 points for each win, plus 3 points for pole positions. So there are 28 points available for each race. So 112 points still available, but you can see there, well, calculations don't quite agree with each other, but something like 30 or 31 points between the two cars. So it is incredibly close. Tom Callender, Elias Seppänen extending their lead at the top, but Leon Köhler and Max Osten very, very much staying in contention. There are the rest of the points scrolling through. It's all subject to confirmation, and the points will be updated on the ADAC website as well. But But I think we can declare that the endurance weekends have been a resounding success. It's certainly something very different for this year in ADAC GT Masters. We had the 80-minute race with 2 mandatory stops yesterday. We have the 40-minute race that's happened today, and both have been really entertaining as the cars pull into Parc Fermé. Certainly a good comeback from Alex Fack and Alexander Schwarzer after a frustrating day yesterday. They almost made it to the finish line, but for an issue that saw them sidelined on the final lap. But back to their customary position at the top of the Pro-Am podium, and further extending their lead in the Pro-Am Championship. So the 2 drivers just currently chatting to the team. It's been just really great to be back at Spa-Francorchamps for the ADAC GT Masters. We've returned here for the first time since 2015, a 9-year break. It is the 3rd time that the GT Masters have appeared here at this legendary circuit in the Ardennes Forest, and I sincerely hope it's not the last. I really hope that we're back here again next year. And there is Max Osten and Leon Köhler. You can see why they have to have a seat insert, aren't you? Certainly very different dimensions of drivers, but Max Osten, who the very likable driver from the Netherlands, who is currently commuting to Japan for the GT World Challenge Asia, was in Okayama last weekend, was in Nürburgring the weekend before, subbing for Mo Ritson in the ADAC GT4 Germany. Leon Köhler, who we've seen coming through the ranks over the years. We saw him last year in Porsche 6 Carrera Cup Germany, and now in the ADAC GT Masters once again. There's Elias Seppen and Tom Callender looking pretty unfazed by the whole experience. Our podium here at the back of the paddock at Spa-Francorchamps, and we're getting ready to welcome our drivers onto the podium in just a few moments. After this, we will take a couple of weeks off. We're back on the 27th of September, 27th to the 29th, where we will be heading to Austria for the next round. Round 5 is at the Red Bull Ring, races 9 and 10. There'll be 2 60-minute races, and then the season comes to a close at the Hockenheim Ring, 18th to 20th of October, and that will be for races 11 and 12. We will be confirming the identity of the champion of GT Masters, also the identity of the winner of the Road to DTM 2024, who will get the funding for the seat in the DTM. Will it be Elias Seppinen? Will it be Tom Callender? Or will Max Osten and Leon Köhler be looking to upset the apple cart? There's plenty of racing still to come between now and then, but before all of that, we're going to have a look at the podium.
Das neue Endurance-Format bzw. Sprintformat kam gut an, und wir fangen an mit unseren Drittplatzierten. Startnummer 4, Fachautotech, Alexander Fack und Alexander Schwarzer.
So this will be for 3rd overall in the race. Alex Fack and Alexander Schwarzer, great duo. Alex the Swiss driver, Alexander Schwarzer the German driver. Leon Köhler from Germany, Max Osten from the Netherlands in that 2nd place, did all that they could in the FK Performance BMW M4. But it's a 4th win of the season and a 2nd win of the weekend for Elias Seppinen and Tom Callender, further extending their lead in the championship of the ADAC GT Masters. A representative from Landgraf Motorsport, who prepare the gold and white Mercedes. And now just announcing the winner in the Pro-Am category, also Alex Fack and Alexander Schwarzer. So now it's time for the national anthem.
einen kräftigen Applaus für unser Podium hier in Spa-Francorchamps.
So now we just wait for the trophies to be presented.
Jürgen Bartusch, Pirelli Motorsport, die Pokale für die Sieger Elias Seppinen und Tom Kalender.
And the winning trophies being presented to Elias Seppinen and Tom Calendar. They'll have some identical ones from yesterday. They can put those alongside each other on the mantelpiece, can't they? Actually, I think that Elias Seppinen's going to need a bigger mantelpiece. The number of trophies he's been winning lately. Leon Köhler and Max Osten. I think they've got a fair few trophies between them as well. Leon, Max Osten, who we saw the BMW M2 Cup a couple of years ago. We've seen him in GT4 Germany. Alexander Schwarzer and Alex Fack for Fack Autotech taking the third place trophy, but they'll get another trophy. Before that though, Landgraf get their trophy. Lovely trophies with the shape of the Spa circuit on them. And that is the Pro-Am winning trophy being presented as well. Turn those around, there we go. And they've got a fair few of those on their collection, haven't they? So trying to get all 7 people in the photo. I think the Landgraf guy's going to be cropped out, isn't he? But there we go, the 6 drivers into the photo. To conclude the second endurance weekend in the history of ADAC GT Masters. We had the first one last time at the Nürburgring and the second one here at Spa-Francorchamps. I think we can declare that the endurance weekends are a resounding success. We have been thoroughly entertained. The sprint race today provided so much action. A really exciting 40 minutes. We're back to the normal 60-minute races. Next time out, it will be at the Red Bull Ring for a race on the Saturday and a race on... Masters. We are go. The car's fan out. And he's given the squeeze. Look at this, side by side. Pulling out right in front. And really good close racing. Wonderful stuff.